before? How many people? Okay, it's not so much, that's good. Because this is the reason why a lot of people come to Holland. It's the windmills, this is what they see. But there's something under this. The millers have to work together in order to pump out the water. If they're not cooperating, Holland will be underwater for 50%. So we always have to come to consensus. And this is something which is deeply rooted in our culture. Making consensus, talk with each other, and come to a solution. Other things, of course, in Holland, that's our art. We're famous for art, Rembrandt, Mondrian, name it. But this is today. We have new technologies, and we're going fast forward. And this is, we are a very densely populated country. We're half the size of Korea, and we have 70 million people. In Holland, everybody is seen as equal. And even our formal queen is in the middle. She's not bigger, she's not smaller than everybody. It's an equal society. It's a society where everybody is integrated. We have a 500 year of history of colonization. That means we have hundreds of culture and nationalities living in Holland. So we are very social aware and mixed cultural backgrounds. And of course Guus Hiddink is our hero, also our hero, together with Korea. But he did something unique. He really made the team work. And that's also something the Dutch do. They always come to a consensus. So they support the weak, they stimulate the talents. And with that you create the best team. In Holland, in my opinion, in the 90s there came a division in design. Ineke Hans was also mentioning, she came back in the 90s, that because in Holland labor was getting more and more expensive. So production shifted to low-cost countries, like the Far East, East Bloc, and that actually made that designers got disconnected from the production side. Sorry, I have to drink some. So in that moment you got more conceptual design and more commercial design. Because the designers started to producing themselves. And that gave them a lot of artistic freedom. Because they were not bothered anymore about it has to be producible, it has to be cheap, it has to be, there's no market for it. They just created out of passion. On the other hand, you got the commercial part, which is why you're doing it. So the conceptual part is you're asking questions, and this is basically, for who is it? For who do you want to do it? So if you put them next to each other, this is the total scope of Dutch design. And actually it reflects very much how the Dutch are. It's a really artistic side and it's also a really practical side. I'll put it in the graph to make it a little bit more obvious how it works. On the left side you see the designer in the middle. The designer is the initiative. And on the right side you see the consumer is actually the goal where everybody hits for. And the designer is only a small part of it. So, and you ask yourself why I'm not an artist. Well, actually my father was a painter. And he was a painter for over 50 years, asking questions, and founded also a famous group in Holland called Verven. And they were always friends with them, and they were always asking questions. And one of his favorite subjects was always persons. So we always had people in portraits of magicians, of artists, On top of that, this is my mother. She was also a painter. And she loved architecture and loved traveling the world. This is one of her arts, also made in the 50s, during that period of that group. So I didn't want to be an artist. I wanted to know why things, or how things work. So I worked with construction, welding, making my own motorcycles. You know, I love to play and work with it. And if it breaks, you have to fix it. And you always have friends who can help you, and you can learn each other how things work. It's really a hand-on thing. If it breaks, you have to fix it. Actually, the most resemblance I have with my uncle and my grandfather is my grandfather on the right. He was a furniture cabinet maker from Switzerland. He came to Holland. And his son, my uncle, Frans Schrofer, founded the Circle Factory in the 30s and developed together with Friso Kramer the revolt chair, what Ineke was mentioning, and she updated so beautifully. So after my technical education, I did the design academy in Holland. And I got the mix between my engineering background. I did car engineering, electrical engineering, and together with design, I started making my own products. I was sculpting actually furniture. Like this, making models. And with the models, I could try to create forms and shapes which have their own expression and their own characters, and create their own signature. And I love to work with my hands, I still do. So I'm still working in the factories with manufacturing people how to solve details. Holland is, of course, a very small country, as I told you. So within 1 year I was working, I was already going abroad to different companies to explore the world of furniture. My first country I went to after Holland was Italy. They have the craftsmanship there, they have the passion for furniture, and I got the connection there. So that was really a good start for me. So within 1-2 years I was already in Milan, and I was already, as a designer, a little bit on the market. This is one of my first pieces I did with Lelux, that's a Dutch company. This was very much organically inspired by ants. You can see the parts, but still you can see that all the parts are unified into one piece. And this creating characters is a signature for me. It's a kind of hands-on design approach, or tools for living. So this is a dining chair I made, and I tried to create lightness in it. And that lightness idea came from butterflies. So the butterflies are always very light, very, very, very elegant. So I tried to create this chair, and also with the function. So technology is always a part. So this has a relaxing mechanism in it. So you create a shape, but you also create relaxation. This is for a new company. This chair is called Snooze. That means you can take a little nap in there. And it really follows the flow of your body. It has a relaxing mechanism in it with electronics, and it's cordless. Yeah, that's actually. So you can see this is the LED company, where I did also sculptural lining and the stitching details, basically making the part of the whole character of the shape of the furniture. This is the Metropole collection I did for Natuzzi, Italy. Natuzzi is the biggest furniture brand in the world. They did over almost €1 billion a year. It was also my most difficult project. We did 3 years designing this. And why is it so difficult? That had to do with that they're selling in 123 countries. So you have to create a form and a shape which appeals to a huge group, target group. So we really had to find this language of form which created this collection. And this is now 8 years in production, and slowly now it's going out, but we had a very good response on it. And it's masculine, as you can see, but still it has a character of shape. On the other hand, we did also projects for Germany. This is for Koinor. Koinor is also represented in Korea. Actually, Leonie's also, I found out yesterday. But Koinor really, and the Germans are really more into the details. They have a harder seat. The Italians are softer. The Germans are a little bit harder in seating. This is a collection I did for Poland. And it has to do with something unique what happened in Holland. I'm not so sure if that happens in Korea. But in Holland you have a lot of people who work from home. There are one-person companies. That means that they use their home also as their office. And they have to create a kind of work atmosphere at home. So this piece of furniture is basically trying to bridge that gap for the market. So you have to try to find new angles to look at what's furniture in your home. This is a project that is from Molinari in Italy. That's a high-level brand company. And the idea was to create a chair, but it's also a sofa. So you basically create a chair, and if you put them together, you create a rhythm, and that makes it into one piece. So I'm always trying to play with the shapes and the forms and the characters. This was a project I just finished for Freistil. That's a daughter of, actually, it's the younger group of the Rolf-Benz collection. And this was the whole idea that people want to bring nature back into their homes. And this collection is called Cloverfield. So it's a lucky Cloverfield, and you bring those pieces in your house so you feel a little bit more natural, connected. And it's not always naturally inspired with me or organic. It can also be just a beautiful shape. So you try to create lightness and elegance in a beautiful verhouding. 15 years ago, I was a kind of bored with garden furniture. It looked really outdated, and I thought, can I bring something of the indoor knowledge I have outdoor? And I started doing outdoor furniture. And that was for me an eye-opening to do, because production was shifted to China, and China gave me the opportunity to work with more complex shapes and forms, and basically it was like going into a candy store. I could design my own profiles, I could design my own casting. Basically they said, make what you want, tell us what you want, and we'll make it. So I could create a collection which is very elegant. And this is also a period when I learned how to build out collections. Instead of making one chair, you're making lounge chairs, you're making sun loungers, and that went on and on and on. And this company, it was a Dutch-owned company who was producing in China. They had an exhibition in Spoga in Germany, and they introduced it together with 2 other collections of mine. And within a week, they had 23 countries as their dealers, and they were an international company. And so design really pushed them from, let's say, only buying group into their own manufacturing and with their own identity. This is another collection I did. It's Sense of Asia. This collection was pure made with cast aluminium. I made the molds myself in my workshop in Holland. I brought the molds with me in the airplane and had them copied there, made the molds from it, and from there we started production. At that same period, I was fascinated by teak furniture. The market at that period was really heavy teak furniture. And teak was getting, 15 years ago, was really getting under discussion, like the use of teak, the environmental issues about it. And also it was getting more and more expensive. So I thought maybe I can help trying to reduce that problem with teak. So how can I design a collection which still has the luxury feel of teak, but create something new? And I got my inspiration from sailing boats, because sailing boats have beautiful thin constructions with stainless steel. They have, a lot of time they have nice teak decks. So I really like this kind of image of lightness in teak furniture. So I created the Calm collection. And the idea was that what your body touches is still teak, but the constructions you have are made out of stainless steel. And because it was produced in Thailand, in this case, we had to think about the KD constructions, and when it's like put together, you can still stack it. So there were a lot of like packaging issues which were very important to make it a good sellable product. Here you see the dining chair, nice on the pool. And at the end, we created a collection of 25 pieces, which have the same signature, the same material combination, and extended over a lot of products. And that's something I'm also getting more specialized in, trying to find that kind of a unique DNA shape, and then try to make that into a collection. This was really my most happiest moment of this collection. When I saw it on an alfresco restaurant in Bangkok in the 62nd floor. If you can see, it looks like a ship. So the whole idea of the ship came together at the end and was even presented in a ship. Another project I did with Lister UK. That was the Palms collection that happened a few years later. Still thinking of that teak element, the teak qualities and the high luxury feel, but then with lamination, and in that way we could reduce the loss of teak, because with the lamination we only used the top layers, the high quality of teak, and in the middle layers you could put a little bit less quality, and still got a really good end product. And of course building it out to a collection. And again, the same combination with the stainless steel and the teak. And here you see the people working on it in Thailand in the factory. I'm not always working organically or inspired from nature, or I can basically inspire it with a lot of different things, also architecture. So this is much more architectural and more quiet designs. It almost gives a kind of a serene Japanese kind of look. This is a collection I did for Teak & Garden. It's called Sahara. And you can already see it's getting more and more light in the design. With less material, it's a big issue. Because why you use more material if you can do it with less, but still keep the design, keep it inspirational. So this product is produced in Indonesia, and they have the craftsmanship of weaving and very fine weaving, and building it out to sun loungers, dining, the dining sets with everything around it. This is the Ivy collection we did for Alma contract in China, and this was made for the contract market for hotels and restaurants. Weaving was getting also more expensive in China, so we also had to find different ways of producing. So we came up with the textiline and just try to make thinner, use less materials, thinner constructions, so to create more lightness and still have a very elegant flow in shape. And building it out to different so this was just the lounge and the sofa. This is when we made it into a dining set. We also made it into bar sets. And this project we did for Alma also in China. That was actually working, trying to find a luxury feel folding chair. All the director's chairs market was really always very price pointed. So we really tried to go to the other side and try to make it luxurious. And they took the photo shoot in Naples. It was also quite interesting. So you have Dutch design, made in China, and photographed in Naples in Italy. So this is kind of a crossover. This is a chair collection we just developed for Greenland in China. It's a full aluminium sheet chair, which is very thinly constructed and very functional. So now we're in this period. This was 2008. We were having this crisis what hit us. It was not only the banks. It started with the banks, but it rolled over in the whole market. So we were actually burning by the sun. These mood boards are created by a stylist. They work with us, and the stylist helps us trying to visualize the moments where we're in. So at that moment, we were in a corona. We were in the darkness of the sun. But after the moon, there's still light. So I thought, okay, this is a really interesting concept. I can use this for a light. And I created the corona, which is a 1,001 millimeter tall ring of aluminium, and created light which shines outwards, and it creating a dark hole in the middle. And this way we also feel that we're always responsible for what's happening. This is a project we did for the Prometheus, it's called. And Prometheus is the Greek god who gave fire to the people. People are always fascinated by fire. And how can you create fire in a sustainable way? So we thought about making a biofuel fireplace, which is and the biofuel is made from sugar beets or grain, and that way it's sustainable and it's clean when you fire it. And I call it the Prometheus collection because it gave the fire to the people. And out of that we made a whole collection for Safretti. That's a small Dutch company, and this is actually produced in Holland again. Because you also can see now that sometimes it's even, production is coming back a little bit in Holland. For some products, producing in Holland is better and cheaper to organize, and easier to organize than to do this abroad. Another project I did is a cooperation between Philips. Philips did a wood burner, and they developed that for the Indian market. They made a high efficiency wood burner, which saves up to 80% in wood when you burn it. And the secret is basically a standalone principle. That means you don't need a lecture court. And how did they solve this? Well, they put in a Peltier element. And a Peltier element generates electricity when you heat it. And so you only need a small battery pack to start up the propeller, to start the fire. And once the fire is on, it generates its own energy. And basically, you can have a fireplace. This is a part of the production. So I created a piece where you have your fireplace still, what people love to do, entertain outside and you have a nice fire. But you can also do a walking or you can do grilling. So it has a multifunctional approach. Another project, we tried to create more elegance and flowing forms in metal, crossing the borders between the car industry and the interior industry. So I came into contact with a technique that's called rubber pressing, and you can use very thin metal and you can basically press it in a very affordable way, 3 dimensionals. And we call it the liquid. And here you can see the molds. So there's only one side of the mold you need instead of 2 sides. And the other side basically is a rubber block that pushes it into shape. And this is done for an Austrian company. And you see it's laser cut, so it's pressed, and then after that it's laser cut. Then of course it's with LEDs. Everything is with LEDs now. And this was the presentation in Frankfurt. We were looking kind of surprised. So my credo, hands-on design, tools for living, that's still what I'm doing. I'm always trying to create new shapes, new forms. I'm always looking for new challenges. Here you can see the model I was just making. This is the real model, which is made by Becker. It's a German company. They're specialized in wood lamination. And they picked up the challenge and they produced this one piece of wood. But here you can see the process behind it. And this is the end result. It's called the Möbius, so it's like almost like impossible endless form. So this was my presentation. I would like to thank you, and hopefully you have a good idea about what Ineke and I did. I think as Dutch designers, we are very open-minded, as you can see. We're always go abroad. We're not limiting by anything, and that is something we have in common. So thank you so much for your attention.